2017's All These Sleepless Nights, by a director whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce in case I butcher it, is one of very few recent films that I'd refer to as a one-of-a-kind experience. The main reason I say this is because of this film's extremely unique approach to telling its story. It relies much heavier on theme than plot, meaning it's incredibly minimal in terms of its story, but it's incredibly maximal in terms of its presentation. Every scene in the film is underscored by a banging electro and hip-hop soundtrack and shot in a very trippy floating camera style, similar to something you'd see in a Gaspar Noé film or some of Terrence Malick's more recent stuff. The camera always follows one of the main three characters and rarely drifts off on its own, causing a lot of scenes to feel like one continuous take, even if they clearly aren't. Honestly, the concept behind this film probably sounds terrible to a lot of people if I were to just pitch it based on that alone. And to be fair, it is kind of a dumb concept, but this film pulls it off so damn well. You essentially have a coming-of-age film told exclusively through moments when our protagonists are intoxicated and partying. It sounds like something that would get old fast, but it never does at any point. The film really puts you in this sort of trance while you're watching it. This storytelling technique is what sets this film apart from a lot of other films kind of similar to it, because it perfectly captures what it's like to be a young person with no ambitions and being unsure of where you belong in the world. You just live from party to party, trying to see friends as often as you can, with everything in between just becoming a repetitive blur. Our main character constantly seems to be stuck in the present, not really wanting to move forward, or maybe not knowing how to. There's a fairly obvious visual representation of this at one point about halfway through, as the main character wanders away from the direction everyone else is looking, not wanting to move forward or look at where everyone else is going. He also references not wanting to drown in the present at one point, seeming to find life too overwhelming for him right now, just constantly going out and getting smashed. Another thing this film perfectly captures is your selective memory when it comes to youth. As the film points out, you retain more memories during your early adolescence than any other time in your life, and everyone generally looks back on their teens and early 20s as the best time of their lives, even if they went through some crazy negative shit because they only remember the high points.
Podobno jeśli zgromadzić wszystkie czynności życia i przeżywać je ciągiem, to sam widok wybuchających przed oczami fajerwerków trwał jakieś 4 dni.
I remember the first time I saw this film, I was actually quite shocked at how well realized the characters are considering how simplistic their character arcs are. They're all fairly well developed and they seem like real people. Just take a look at this interaction for an example of what I'm talking about.
There's nothing more that a woman likes than somebody with fucking confidence, man. Forget it. Just practice now, we're just practicing. Just close your eyes, it's even better that way. There he is. I need like more of this.
It will be like this. Just give me time.
These characters seem like real people, and there's a reason for that. All These Sleepless Nights is actually technically a documentary. Yes, a documentary can actually look this colorful and stylized. Besides maybe Samsara or Baraka, I think this is easily one of the best looking documentaries I've ever seen, and it's one of the most unique approaches to telling a story like this. The film becomes kind of style over substance, but it uses that to its advantage and uses the flashiness to tell the characters' stories in a really interesting and engaging way. There's obviously also some voiceovers and stuff added later on to give the film a proper narrative rather than it being just random footage of people partying. But the people you're watching on screen are real people, and most of the interactions are completely genuine and not scripted from what I understand.
No. Nie będę tego podnosił.
Nie, w
Jeszcze
ogóle
raz.
nie mam na to ochoty, rozumiesz?
Ale to się rozwali, nie?
Nie mam na to ochoty.
A jak całe walnie?
Stary, ja nie muszę tego kopać nawet.
Wow!
To jest zabawne, kurwa? To nie jest zabawne. To też nie było zabawne. W ogóle mi się to nie podoba, kurwa. Idziemy do domu, kurwa.
Nie do
Stary.
domu, błagam, nie do domu, nie?
It's this fascinating blend between stylish art film like a Terrence Malick movie and a realistic, relatable documentary that gives this film this really hypnotic and surreal vibe. It's gradual at first, staying really grounded and realistic feeling, but then we hit this scene, by far the most memorable one to me in the entire film. This is where the film begins to fully embrace its euphoric, dreamlike tone. It's an exaggerated version of what everyone wishes they could have done or what they want to do. Throughout the film, more and more sequences like this where the film kind of starts to turn into a music video start happening until we hit the beautiful finale, which in my opinion was a perfect way to cap it off. Accepting being lost in the present and dancing there, instead of stressing about moving forward with all the traffic that's moving past you. All These Sleepless Nights is a film that I could see being really polarizing, because it's either going to connect with you and you'll get this nostalgic, cathartic vibe from the whole thing that feels kind of real even though it's exaggerated, or you may just see it as another boring, empty art house flick. I still think this is one of those films everyone should give a try, as it's super underseen, and it is available on Netflix in the US and Canada, so it should be easy to find a copy of for most people. But seriously, on Letterboxd right now, this film has less than 2,500 people who have it marked as watched, and it definitely deserves more attention than it's gotten. Even if the theme the film is going for doesn't connect with you personally, I think at the very least you'll be able to enjoy the incredible visuals and the perfectly curated soundtrack. This is one of those movies you should definitely watch on the loudest sound system you have access to because the soundtrack is fantastic. I'm not really sure what else I can say about this one. It's tricky to discuss a film without a traditional narrative, but I just wanted to toss this one out there as a recommendation because I feel like more people should be aware of its existence, and I hope by making this video maybe I can convince a few of you guys to go check it out for yourselves as well.
10 000 papierosów. Tyle oddechów wziętych ostro. W 10 000 papierosów. Dni z dymem 300 znowu poszło. I 1000 kilka chwil bez filtra. Głos twój w setce innych głosów. A na 100 wdechów jedna pomyłka. W 10 000 papierosów.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I just figured I'd put this video out in between the In Defense Of episodes because it's a movie that I recently rewatched and realized how much I loved it, and I just wanted to recommend it to people. Maybe I'll do a few more of these in the future for other things that I think are underseen, so watch out for those, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.